Hi everyone, very good morning and welcome back to Grade B. So today we are here to discuss about the provisions as well as the reserves. But before that, we would like to discuss about the depreciation that we have left. A little bit about depreciation that we were not able to cover in the tomorrow's topic that we are going to cover today. Fine. So let's start. We were discussing about the straight line methods as well as the WDV method. What are the differences among these two? So these are the things that we have to discuss. Very small things that you need to see over here. Number one is the basis of charging depreciation. What is basis of charging depreciation? See, these might seem little points, but they can be easily asked in your examination. That is why I have included over here. See over here. In straight line method, depreciation is being charged on the original cost. Because yesterday when we were reading about the depreciation, I told you that in straight line method, what you do is, suppose you have purchased the asset for 1 lakh rupees. Right? You have purchased the asset for 1 lakh rupees. So you charge depreciation on this 1 lakh rupee only. 1 lakh less residual value if any and divided by your number of whatever is your number of useful life period, right? At that basis you record. But in your WDV method, that is written down value method, the depreciation is charged on net book value. Net book value means the original cost less depreciation. This means what? Every year, first year, second year, third year, you will be seeing that what is the book value, and accordingly you will be charging the depreciation. Right? Easy. What I have to remember in this, that in WDV method the depreciation is charged on book value, and in your straight line method the depreciation is charged on the original cost basis. Now next thing that we have is annual charge of depreciation. Annual charge of depreciation, yesterday only I told you one piece of information. Just a second please. Yes. So yesterday only I made a comparison and I told you that in straight line method your depreciation plus repairs charges, it will go on increasing. Please carefully listen what I am saying. Yesterday I told you that every year under straight line method depreciation तो same रहता है but repairs expenses goes on and on, right? But what happens in WDV method? Every year depreciation goes down और repairs आपका बढ़ता है, constant रहता है, कम होता है, जो भी होता है. So cumulative effect is different in both these methods, right? I hope you must have watched the yesterday's lecture as well. See, annual charge of depreciation, annual amount of depreciation charged every year remains fixed or constant under the straight line method. Here we are only talking about depreciation. I am not including repairs over here. Repairs wala kharcha we are not including over here. I am just talking about the depreciation. So annual amount of depreciation here remains constant, whereas in written down value method the annual amount of depreciation is highest in the first year. पहले साल में सबसे ज़्यादा होगा और उसके बाद हर साल it will go on declining, right? So these are the small points of differences which you should for sure remember. Next is suitability. See, I have included these one-liners only so that it becomes easy for you to differentiate as well as read such kind of document, right? So let's see this. Straight line method. Straight line method is suitable when? For which kind of assets? Also, this we are reading as per the accounting perspective. ठीक है, ये बात आप समझिएगा that this what we are reading is from accounting perspective. Income tax perspective is totally different. In income tax only written down value method is given the priority. ठीक है, so income tax please do not what you can say compare with this, that is different, and your accounting purpose methods are different. So under this they are saying that straight line method is suitable for assets जिसमें repair charges low हो. Thank you so much, Sejal. Thank you. I hope you find it also easy to understand, right? So come over here. See this, repair charges are low, the possibility of obsolescence is low, and scrap value depends upon the time period involved, such as freehold land, buildings, patents, trademarks, etc. Fine. So in all these particular cases, what I would like to tell you is, कल मैंने आपको example दिया था, right? In that example, I showed you, suppose in the year 1, in year 2, and in the year 3, correct? In these years, depreciation expenses under straight line method is fixed. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, right? Now suppose if repairs will also increase, in this particular case, if repairs will also increase, suppose in the year 1, my repairs are 2,000, year 2, repairs are 4,000, and in year 3, repairs are 5,000. You see, in total, this will be called as the asset related expenses. ठीक है, 10,000 plus 2,000, 10,000 plus 4,000 and 10,000 plus 5,000. So, अब मेरी बात बहुत ध्यान से सुनिएगा यहाँ पे. क्या होता है, what happens is, whenever we bring a new machinery or new asset, in the starting it is very useful, right? In the starting it gives us good production and there are no much maintenance charges, etc., etc. But as it grows old, the benefits that we derive from such machinery, they decrease. जैसे जैसे मशीनरी को आप यूज कर लोगे उसके बेनिफिट्स तो कम हो ही जाएंगे ना, करेक्ट? सो मैचिंग प्रिंसिपल क्या कहता है कि जब बेनिफिट्स कम हो रहे हो तो आप अपने कॉस्ट्स भी कम कर लीजिए, आपके कॉस्ट मैच तो होने चाहिए ना एटलीस्ट, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाई अंडर योर स्ट्रेट लाइन मेथड अगर आपके रिपेयर एक्सपेंसेस हाई हैं और वो इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं, देन in such cases straight line method is not suitable. If your repair expenses of asset is high, then at that particular point you should apply the WDV method. ठीक है, I hope now you must have understood. See over here, so repair charges are low. So in what kind of cases? Now again I am explaining to you, do not confuse this with your income tax act. ठीक है, उससे बिल्कुल कंफ्यूज मत करना, because this is given from the accounting perspective and what we have in income tax act, that is as per that perspective. So both of them are different, that is why please do not confuse them, right? See over here, on which kind of assets straight line method should be applicable? Freehold land, buildings, patents, trademarks, etc. This land and buildings has been given together, otherwise land is not depreciated. Thank you so much. This is too flattering, but still thank you. Next is written down value method is suitable. See, this kind of appreciation, it always feels good. But yes, at the end of the day, all of us here at Crack Grade B, we do want that you should have best of the content as well as best of the classes. We do try for that, and I'm so glad that you liked it. See over here, written down value method, it is suitable for which kind of assets? This is suitable like assets like plant and machinery, vehicles, etc. In such kind of expenses, in this method what happens is, अगर आपके repair expenses time के साथ बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, if your repair expenses are increasing over the time, then in that particular situation, which kind of method you should adopt? WDV method. ठीक है? So it has been done. Now just a small topic and then we will move on to the topic of the day, that is provisions as well as reserves. ठीक है? Additions to existing asset. Now this is, I will say, of low importance, not that much importance, but still I have included it to in order to give you the clarity. So additions to existing assets. Suppose I have a machinery. ठीक है? I have this particular machinery. Now you know that as machinery grows old, it demands repairs and maintenance, right? Now that repairs and maintenance can be of two types. Number one is, suppose there is a part, a spare part which I have given to this particular machinery. ठीक है? Now this is, please listen very careful because this is a vital concept of accounting. Now जो भी आपने spare parts लगाया है, whatever spare part you have installed, please see that whether that spare part has a useful life of its own or not. ठीक है? See the amount involved in this particular spare part. See its useful life. Right? Value, useful life, etc. This is going to give you an idea. अगर देखो, if this spare part can be used for multiple years, if this spare part has increased the life of asset, if this spare part has increased the life of asset, efficiency of asset like that, then we will take this spare part as the addition to the machinery. और ये कहाँ जाएगा? Cost of machinery में. Any addition in the machinery which is increasing its life, efficiency, and such addition is having useful life of its own, then such kind of addition should be added in the cost of machinery. ठीक है? Cost of machinery में add करेंगे. Versus suppose छोटे मोटे screw, nut, bolts that has gone missing. So if you replace such items in the machinery, such kind of spare parts which do not have any separate existence, right? They do not have a useful life of their own. They have not brought substantial changes in the machinery. So such kind of changes, such kind of spare parts, you should charge in the P&L account as per the repairs and maintenance. ठीक? Repairs and maintenance को debit करेंगे. You will debit repairs and maintenance and you will take that expenses to the P&L account. Versus when an expense has increased your useful life of the machinery, it should be added in the cost of asset. So I thought that it is a vital, it can be a vital short question. Hence I have included it. Let's read it. See, any addition or extension which becomes integral part of existing asset, they should be depreciated over the useful life of that particular asset. ठीक है? The depreciation on such addition, they may also be provided at the rate applied to the existing asset. And where an addition or extension retains a separate identity and capable of being used even after the existing asset, it should be provided independently on the basis of its own useful life, right? So in this particular case, we have divided the addition into two parts. If addition is increasing life of machinery, efficiency of machinery, then you should definitely include that cost in the cost of machinery itself, number one thing. But if the addition is having a separate life of its own, मान लो मशीनरी तो बस 5 साल ही चलेगी, machinery I can use just for 5 years, but the addition that I am making in the machinery, it can be used for next 8 years as well. So I should record this into my balance sheet separately. ठीक है? So I guess after this discussion, your depreciation topic is complete in all aspects. Now we'll move on to the provisions and reserves. Provisions and reserves, it just have small topics that you need to understand. Apart from that, it is fairly easy thing to go through, right? So what are provisions and what are reserves? There is always a confusion regarding that. That is why we have included it over here. So provisions means there are certain expenses or losses which are related to the current accounting period, but हमको अमाउंट नहीं पता है certainty से. That is why it is necessary to make provisions for such item. For example, debtors. Debtors कौन होते हैं? Debtors are my customers who have taken the product from my institution, right? Just wait for a second. Yes. So now, because of the past experience of mine, so because of the past experience, I know that in this particular case, out of 100 rupees that I am to receive from my debtors, it may happen that 5 rupees I might not receive. ठीक है? So because based on the past experience, how I have decided this particular rate, just wait for a second guys, wait for a second. Yes, so come back over here. 5%, this is based on the past experience. Now on the basis of this, I know that it might happen out of total value of my debtors, 5% will not be received by me. Now this is expected losses. Now what is the principle that I need to apply over here? Can anyone tell me? What is the principle that I need to apply over here? Well, needless to say, Sejal, you have made my day. So thank you so much for all these good and nice words. This is a very good start to the day. So let's see over here. Let's come back to the topic. So what is the principle that has been told over here is, this is prudence principle. It has another name as well. This is prudence principle, also called as the principle of conservatism. ठीक है? As per this principle, we have been told that you have to record all the expected losses and expenses. Expected losses and expenses मतलब जो होने वाले हैं. If you have a certainty that this is going to happen, in that particular case, you have to record them. ठीक है, आपको उसको रिकॉर्ड करना है. नाउ एट द सेम टाइम, फॉर डेटर्स, what is the thing that I made? I hope everyone or each one of you know about it. We call it as provision for doubtful debts. So when I know that this is a loss which I am expected to carry on, right? हो सकता है कि मुझे ये loss हो जाए. So in that particular case, I should be making provision. Now one more thing that I want to tell you over here is, see, this is your P&L account, right? In your P&L account, although there is a new format for P&L account, but I am using the old one in order to explain you. So in this particular case, this is, here it is expenses, these are incomes, right? Expenses and incomes. So where you will write the provision, you will write over here. provision for anything like provision for taxation, for upcoming tax related liability, provision for doubtful debts, you will write it over here. So all such provisions, they are recorded as an expense. So they have a specific term. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? This is called as the charge to profit. You might encounter such term in the examination. That is why I am writing it. Anything that is debited in the profit and loss account, that is called as the charge to profit. ठीक है, this is called as charge to profit. Now next thing is well, provisions, they impact the taxability of profit. Yes, ठीक है. So suppose when I am writing the expenses over here in form of provision, in that particular case my profit will get reduced. रिड्यूस्ड प्रॉफिट में आपको रिड्यूस्ड टैक्स देना पड़ेगा. एज देयर आर सो मेनी डिफरेंट थिंग्स that are as per Income Tax Act, but we are not here to discuss Income Tax Act, hence I am not going over there. बस मैं आपको ये बताना चाहती हूँ कि जब हम अकाउंटिंग पढ़ रहे हैं then there might be differences between the accounts and your Income Tax Act. ठीक है, दोनों अलग अलग गवर्न किए जाते हैं. That is why please understand that difference may arise and don't be confused in that. ठीक, so this has happened. This is charge to profit, etc. I have told you. Now next thing about provisions that we have to see, the different types of provision, and also this is very important. Because of what principle you make the provisions? The question can be asked super easily. On what basis you create the provisions? Whether it is matching principle, whether it is principle of conservatism, principle of duality, or what. ठीक है, पूछा जा सकता है. So please always remember that it is principle of prudence or conservatism. Because of that we create the provisions. Now what are the examples of provisions? Doubtful debt, taxation, discount on debtors, repairs and renewals, provision for depreciation. ठीक है, next is the amount of provision is a charge against the revenue. Charge against the revenue means we debit it into the profit and loss account. So that has also to be remembered, correct? But why I am focusing much onto it, the charge and debit to P&L, etc., etc. Because अभी थोड़ी देर बाद we will see reserves, right? So when we will be reading reserves, all these will occur as a point of difference. ठीक है? Now next thing, in the balance sheet, how can you show your provisions, right? In the balance sheet, how you can show? So there can be two ways. Number one is by way of deduction from the concerned asset. Now this is applicable only in some cases. For example, provision for depreciation. So how you can show the provision for depreciation? Suppose I have made this provision for depreciation for my machinery. So I have two options, right? Number one option, या तो asset side में wherever machinery is written, suppose 4 lakh is written in form of machinery. So I will deduct provision for depreciation 50,000. Like that I can show. This is one way of representation. Or either if I do not want to show like that, then I can show provision for depreciation in the liability side. In my balance sheet, I can also show this in the liability side as well. I hope you remember this. Now there are some provisions for which both the options are not available, like provision for taxation. Provision for taxation. So provision for taxation के लिए you do not have an asset. कहाँ लिखोगे आप? So first option is not available in case of provision for taxation. Only the second option is available. Now moving on to the next part, that is reserves. Now what are reserves? See, listen to me very carefully. In the current financial year, what I have done is I have calculated all my revenues. Okay? I have deducted all of my expenses and now I have got profit. Okay? Now I have got profit. I am repeating it once again. See, here I have written all my revenues. Here I have written all my expenses and then I have calculated my profit. Fine. Can you tell me or can you think about it, is reserve a expense? No. Reserve कोई expense नहीं है. Right? Reserves we make when we get our profit. जब हमको हमारा profit मिल जाता है, then out of this profit we take some amount and we keep in the locker. ठीक है? Like it happens in our family as well. Suppose you have got your salary. Now there are so many household expenses. You have incurred all the expenses and now you have an amount in your hand. So what do? You take some amount and you keep it safe. Correct? That is called as the reserves. This is not an expense. You are not saving for something special. You are just saving like that. Correct? So that is why it is called as a part of profit. We'll be shifting this soon, so don't worry. Are you able to understand the class right now? Or do you find that the English usage is too much? See over here. So reserves is what? This is a part of profit or also called as the appropriation of profit. What do I mean to say by this? See, appropriation of profit, reserves are called like that. ठीक? Yeah, I will. So next thing is your provisions. Provisions are called as what? Provisions are called as charge to profit. Charge to profit and appropriation to profit, both the things are different, right? Appropriation of profit means what? Once you have calculated your profit, after that an amount has been appropriated, has been kept separately. Next thing is, it may be set aside and retained in the business to provide for certain future needs. See, why do we make savings? Because we do not know that in future certain contingencies might arise. Kuch emergency situations might arise. So hence for that we keep some reserves, and similar is the case for the business. Now it has been given categorically that reserve is not a charge against profit, because we do not show reserves in the expenses side, right? We do not show reserves in the expenses side. Please remember this. Now what are the examples of reserves? Some examples are like your general reserve, workmen compensation, investment fluctuation, capital reserve, dividend equalization reserve. Now few points of difference also I have included. What are the points of differences? So this is the point of difference between the provision and your reserve. See, provision cannot be used for distribution of dividends. Why they cannot be used for distribution of dividend? Because we have made provision for a specific thing. Suppose I have made provision for taxation. So that amount is going to be used for tax payment purposes, right? I have made provision for depreciation. So that provision is going to be used for depreciation purposes. So that is why provision has a specific purpose. That's why we cannot use it for the distribution of dividend. Dividend means the amount of profit that you share with the shareholders. Next thing is your reserves, like general reserve. They can be used for the distribution of dividend, because reserves is what? Keeping aside a part of profit, right? So that can be used for the distribution of dividend. Please remember this, that provision cannot be used for distribution of dividend, right? Next thing is, reserves has no impact on the taxability of profit, because reserves are not an expense. They are not deducted as an expense from the profit. So see what happens: calculate revenue, calculate expenses, then your profits will come. On this profit you apply the tax, and once tax is applied, after that you get your profit after tax. We take reserves out of that. Okay? So reserves are made once profit is already charged to tax. That is why reserves has no effect on the taxes. Okay? Next thing is, provisions, do they have impact on taxation? A big yes, because they are as an expense. If provisions are going to increase, my profit will decrease, and as well as my tax expense will also decrease. If provision will decrease, if provision will go down, then my profit will go up and my taxes will also go up. So provision do have an impact on the taxes. Correct? These might seem a simple little things to you, but they do impact the concepts, and that can be very well asked in your examination. Next thing is, the reserves are classified on the basis of revenue and capital reserve. Now this is also very important. Revenue reserves कौन से होते हैं? These reserves are created from the revenue profits. Revenue and capital differentiation, why it is so? So it is based on the fact that which kind of profit you are using for making the reserve. If I am using revenue profit means the amount that has come out of my profit and loss account, then that will be available for distribution of dividend, and it is called as a revenue reserve. For example is your general reserve, workmen compensation reserve, dividend equalization reserve. These are all what? Revenue reserves. What is capital reserve? So capital reserve is such amount of reserve that is created out of capital profits. So capital reserves, they are created out of the capital profits. Now what is this capital profits? Now what is this? Capital profits. So such kind of profit which do not arise generally in your normal course of business. ठीक है, आपके सेल परचेज से ये प्रॉफिट अराइज नहीं होता. सपोज आई एम सेलिंग माई गुड्स एंड इफ आई हैव अचीव्ड एनी प्रॉफिट ऑन टू that will be called as the revenue profit, right? But suppose, for example, I have sold my machinery. मैंने अपनी मशीनरी बेची and I got profit onto that. That is capital profit, because selling of machinery is not my routine business. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस, मशीनरीज बेचना खरीदना ये मेरा रूटीन बिजनेस नहीं है, इसलिए मैं इसको रेवेन्यू प्रॉफिट नहीं बोल सकती. If ever I have encountered a profit on the sale of my assets, that will be called as the capital profits. Capital profits are not available for distribution of dividend, right? And that is why they are kept as capital reserves. One thing. Next thing also about this, suppose as a company I have issued shares. ठीक है, shares का पैसा I am calling into the installments, first call, second call, allotment, application, like that. Okay, there is a shareholder who is not able to pay me the amount. He just paid me application and allotment, and he was not able to pay me first call and second call on the shares. So what I did, I took back shares from him. I forfeited the shares and I reissued these shares to someone else. When I reissued these shares, the the profit which I will have on such reissue of shares, that will be called as the capital profit. That will go into the capital reserve. Because understand, if I have the business of medicines and whatever amount of profit I am recording by selling medicines, that is my revenue profit. And any profit which I am accounting because of the transaction in my shares, because of your sale of your assets, maybe land, building, or your machinery, etc., etc., that all is considered as your capital profit. ठीक है. So this is what I had to discuss in the provisions and reserves. I hope you must have understood the topic. If you did, then please do not forget to like this video. And also, if you do have any kind of queries related to this topic, which I shall incorporate into my next lecture, please please give your all kinds of questions under this particular video. ठीक है. So what I'll do is, if you'll have any query, write down below this video. I will try to incorporate them into my next lecture that is going to happen tomorrow. So with that, thank you so much for joining the lecture.